G'day guys, James and Ant here
Hi
with
there.
Cricket Bat Law this week.
Indeed.
Jim, so we're going to teach the guys how to knock in their bats at home.
Yep.
A little bit different than how we do it here because we've got the cradle.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, just
That's
give
right.
us the rundown, like step by step. How would you do it over at home? How many hours it's going to take, etc.
Okay, well, I've sort of jumped ahead a little bit with this one in the sense that it's already had oiling. That process has been done, because usually the oiling process you do over a couple of days prior to knocking in the bat.
And you can check the previous video on oiling.
Yeah, and we've got those instructions on the website as well, so there's information around that. But then now, what a lot of people struggle with is the actual knocking inside, how that works. And so really the main parts of the bat that you need to worry about are the edges and the toe. So the edges along these parts and the toe area along there. So you've got these sort of main parts that suffer the main damage. So we've got to make sure those are catered for. Now, usually when you start those, you grab your mallet. You've got to make sure it's nice and round in the face, but not too round. And then hold it quite high near to the top, so that you're actually getting, you're not hitting it too hard. You just want to round those edges off, but not hit it too hard, because you'll crack the edge if you do.
And the type of mallet?
Type of mallet, you want a hardwood mallet, but you want a little bit of weight in it, but it doesn't need a huge amount of weight. Quite often if they're too heavy, you're sort of inclined to hit it a bit too hard and be a bit too aggressive. So, I'd say, your mallet probably weight about half a kilo, something like that, and then that's about right. So you're coming in there, and what you're doing there is, just as you're hitting it, you're just turning the bat slightly, so you can see there, I'm starting there and just gradually rounding that round, and you end up on back on the face and then gradually coming back again. Now what you've also got to make sure you do is don't hit it flush on the side. If you're hitting it flush on the side, you cause problems, because
especially
that's not
when you see bats back that have had a big leading edge.
That's right.
Straight
Yes.
to the back of the bat.
The edge at the back and the back of the bat is not pressed. And the reason for that is that if you press the whole bat, you'll end up with a very heavy, clumpy bit of wood that doesn't feel very good. Whereas you want the performance, and bats, traditionally, and all bats are just pressed on the face and a little bit on the edges. So you just don't want to be causing yourself too many problems. And no knocking in on the back whatsoever, so you don't touch the back with the mallet. So then you've got the toe area of the bat. The toe is quite crucial. It's not very comfortable to knock in, because it's not, it sort of vibrates a bit, but you do have to give it quite a good whack. So this sounds a bit different. But again, on the toe, it's really crucial that your mallet is hitting it flush, face on. You don't want your mallet to be hitting it on the angle. If it's hitting it on the angle, then you'll crack the toe and cause problems with your toe guard as well. So you've got to hit it flush to the face, and then that sort of helps to prevent damage from Yorkers. Doesn't eliminate everything, but it does help to prevent that. So the main areas to concentrate are your edges and your toe. You probably spend a good hour to an hour and a half at least worth on those edges and toe, because they are the most crucial parts.
Would you do those first?
Oh, look, it's really up to you. I mean, it's personal preference as to what works. I mean, I tend to say, when you're knocking in, you do it in about 10-minute sessions, because 10-minute sessions are about right, because your arm gets tired. It is a bit sore. It's not particularly pleasant knocking in a bat. So 10-minute sessions is about right. And then beyond that, your arm gets tired. You're not really doing any good value work. So it's better off to keep it to that. Then you get to the centre of the bat, the main sweet spot. This is another side that you really want to make sure you just cover the whole area. And so what I always do is when you're knocking in, work down one grain, work up the next, and just go down each grain, up each grain, so that then by the time you finish that, you've covered the whole surface. And then go again, but just go across and zigzag it back across the bat, and then do the other way again, and do it different ways, just so that you sort of make sure you've covered that area and made sure you've got a good coverage of the knocking in process. Now, how hard do we hit it? That's one of the things that's often asked.
Do you build it up?
Yeah, you do. You do. Effectively, I mean, you've got to build it up to a good mallet stroke to really get that knocking into work. But if I just show you a bit, and that's pretty straightforward. But what you're doing then is hold it up to the light once you've done your stroke. See if you're making any dents. If you're not making any dents at all, then you just need to hit it a little bit harder. So increase your strength a bit more. So then go a bit harder. And there now I can see that I'm just starting to dent. It's probably very hard to pick up in the video, but you're only just starting to dent.
When you hold it into the light, you can see little, just little indentations.
And that's about right. So you now know how hard you're hitting it. And it's quite hard. It's probably harder than you think you should be hitting it about, but it is quite hard. And so now you've got the hardness that you've got to hit it. Now you've got to transpose that and do it over the whole face. And so that, you've got at least half an hour or so, even more maybe, of doing that. And that then you'll notice the difference from when you started to when you finish will make a big difference in the performance of the band. And then it's ready to go out and use. You go out and have some nets with an old ball.
So you're talking about an hour and a half around the toe?
Yeah,
edges?
Approximately. I mean, you sort of get a gauge. If it's not denting in any more, then you're about right. And then, but I'd say it's just a little bit trickier. So. Yeah, I'd say it probably takes about that length of time, and then you probably put around about another half an hour or so into the face, and then you're about right. But it does depend on how hard you're hitting.
So it's not the 5 or 6 hours that has previously been recommended.
That's as long as you're hitting it hard enough to do any good work. I mean, if you're going to do it over a lot longer period of time, you're probably not hitting it anything like as hard as you need to be hitting it. But you wouldn't do it for 5 hours hitting it that hard, because you're effectively just knocking the runs out of your bat. So you want to do that out in the middle. You want your bat to last. You don't want to knock it out before you've...
What are the telltale signs of a bat that's knocked in?
Well, effectively, what you usually see... You'll always see slight denting from seam marks, even in a knocked-in bat. That's quite common. But if you're getting big dents to the point that the timber's almost cracking, then it's an indication that it's just not quite. It's not quite. It's there. A little bit soft, and sometimes you'll knock a bat in, and the timber relaxes a little bit, and it just needs a little bit more. It just because it's a natural product. Yeah, it's a natural product, and it varies a lot, and so it does. This is very much a rule of thumb when you start getting into that area.
Understood.
So that's sort of knocking in a very concise sense, and it's a case of them going out, having a net with a really old ball.
I always recommend to customers put that time in the nets with the old balls before taking them into a game against a hard one, because that's when the damage gets done.
Yeah, that's it. There's that side, and also it just enables you to get used to the new bat, because it's always going to be different to the last bat you've used.
Yeah, just slightly.
And you start to get a feel for where the sweet spot is, how it's working, and then you
and helps that performance to start opening up.
Oh, it does very much so. Very much so. Yeah.
There you go, knocking in a bat.
Indeed.